The Winter King is a mod for Crusader Kings 2, which unlike most mods, shrinks the player area down to just France, the British Isles, the Benelux area, and parts of Germany and Scandinavia, set in the brutal 5th century with mechanics for the various cultures and characters in this setting. On top of that, despite shrinking the player area, it massively increases the province density of the places in the game. For example, even small places like Brittany are absolutely filled with provinces. Prestige is actually really important in this mod. A lot of decisions that you need to take to access certain things require prestige. We'll see more of that later on. This mod also has an interesting idea of representing legions. Legions aren't just a special sort of soldier or a retinue. Instead, they're essentially mercenary companies. These mercenary companies have their own leader, as you can see, and keeping the leader of your mercenary companies on side is actually really important because these guys can actually rebel against you, they can join factions, they can switch sides. So, as I said, keeping them on side is important. As we free more and more of Roman territory, we'll be able to create more and more of these sort of legions, to the point where we might even reach a point where we can fully rely on them instead of having to rely on levies, which was arguably should be the end goal. This mod also has a season cycle, as it were. The territories will go through the seasons: winter, spring, summer, autumn, and these seasons affect largely tax from territories, which honestly it's not something you really can engage with much, because it's not like you can control the seasons, but it means you don't have the same taxes yearly round, and but you can't really compensate for it. It's just a neat mechanic, I suppose. Today we'll be playing as the Socions, perhaps one of my favourite Roman successor states, and I suppose we'll just see how it goes. Shall we Iron Man it? Let's do it. Why not, after all? So the first order of business for us Socions, who knows? We are kind of the weakest territory in France. The Visigoths and the Burgundians are way stronger than us, and half of our territory is controlled by smaller tributary states instead of being directly ruled by us, meaning our strength is essentially halved. And on top of that, the Franks that are next door to us are going to unify and just come down on us like a ton of bricks almost immediately after starting, and that is where we would historically be utterly annihilated. But we'll see if we can't turn things around, maybe, and fix things, as it were. I'm actually going to do something I think a little dastardly. I'm going to immediately convert to Hellenic paganism. I'm sure everyone will hate it, but I just think Hellenicism is a much better start, and religion for our start, which is already quite difficult. Oh god, no, the Franks are here. So they'll immediately get loads of event troops, giving them 8,000 men total. It might be over for us if we can't defeat them. We'll see how it goes. The problem is the Franks also have their own tributaries that they're going to call into war with their own armies, making things even harder. Oh god, we're dead. I guess that's a restart. Take 2. Alright, so what should we do differently this time? We're still going to convert to the Hellenicism just because I think it's superior. This time we're going to try and pacify more of the Frankish land. We won't be able to call them in to help fight the Franks because they're allied with them. But if there's they have less people they can call in, surely that's what will matter. Alright, the Franks have unified. Maybe we can win this time. Alright, here they come. Rome will prevail, surely. We actually do have the advantage against these Franks in these battles, simply because we are Romans and our soldiers are a lot better, and we have access to a lot better soldiers. For example, warriors are essentially heavy infantry from the base game. The problem with this war is even if we win, they're not going to stop coming. They'll wait a few months, or maybe years, and then they'll come again. I think we've actually managed to win. We're very close to being able to force them to peace. We'll gain a lot of money and prestige. Dear God, we've done it. Just a little bit. For a little while, until the next time the Franks come knocking. Now let's restore the Senate. This decision will actually offer some major bonuses at the cost of money. So now that we've reformed the Senate, we'll gain some buffs, but more importantly, we'll gain a bunch of people, senators, who will come into our country. We can then hand out those senatorial titles for a big bonus to relations, so it'll be easier to keep our vassals in check. Completing that decision also gives us access to the form Imperium Gallerium, which will allow us to become an empire. The birth of a legitimate imperial senate has been proclaimed. Some important Roman nobles with claims to the Senate of Rome have gathered. You are now authorized to assign more senatorial titles. Excellent. So as we can see here, we now have lots of senatorial titles we can hand out, which give big buffs to relations. Of course, they mean nothing. Being a senator gives them no power, just like in real life. But what's important is they'll like us more for being made senators, just like in real life. Alright, it's time to restore central authority. Before we do this, I'm actually going to raise the levies, bring everyone together, and then do it. Because once we do it, it's going to be kind of a rush to pacify the people that don't really want to be, shall we say, brought into line. Alright, let's go. We demand the submission of our western territories. They all say... Well, no, not all of them say no. These guys submit. They mainly all say no. So the way this war works is, there's a lot of them. There's us. We just need to fight the leader of the rebellion and pacify him, and then the rest will fall into line. So let's just do our best. Luckily, I've already moved my army into position, and we're right next door to the leader of the rebellion. And bingo bongo, there we go. These guys will now be brought under us as vassals. Huzzah. Now I can show off one of the cooler mechanics in this mod. So we took this new duchy from the Franks, and it's currently a Frankish duchy under the kingdom of Selania, which is a Frankish kingdom. But if we wait a day or so, we get an event, and the county of Aporobotus, as it's called, is now no longer a Frankish province. If I just click this button, you can see this is the Digi map mode for kingdoms, and it shows Selene, and then boom, it's gone. This territory is now part of the Sossion domain, with a new duchies being formed, that being Duchy of Morania up here, and Duchy of Arabatia down here. You can see Arabatia is a very small duchy. That's because as we take more territory, this duchy will grow into becoming its full height. And that's one of the more interesting mechanics of this mod. Every duchy and kingdom is based on the culture that rules it, which means as cultures expand, for example, the Angles in England, as they expand and take territory from the native Britons, the kingdom of Anglia will expand. And it's the same for us. As we restore territory under Roman rule, the Roman kingdoms and empire will expand. So it's a very dynamic way of showing duchies, and a really great mechanic that I kind of wish we saw more in other mods. Since we were able to beat the Franks so handily, I'm actually thinking of attacking the Visigoths just to take that bit of that duchy that they took from us that's a de jure part of us. Oh dear, we got the Dueling with Death event, which we lost the game of chess, which means we're dead, it's over. Hopefully our son, Flavius, even though he's dull, will be able to succeed where we've failed, I suppose. Well, the problems with having a new ruler is suddenly everybody hates us inside our country, and also to expand we need prestige to use our casus belli to reclaim duchies, and because, of course, we don't have much prestige because we've just come to the throne, I suppose we'll just have to survive until we can actually start expanding again, which is a pity because we could have taken advantage of the fact that we are a new ruler, which means all our truces are now over. We've now gained enough territory that we can form the Imperium Gallium. Once Roman rule has been restored to large part of Gaul, an official edict can be proclaimed with the support of the Senate to fully restore the Roman Ius Imperium and reclaim the title of Imperator of the Romans. This allows us to become an empire. Look at that horrible purple colour. That's us. Now we are an imperial government. and we gain all the benefits that imperial governments normally gain, such as the ability to revoke titles from duchies for free, as well as creating viceroyalties. We also gain access to the imperial elective succession system. We also become Augustus. Long live the Empire. Our former Socyon kingdom has now fractured into lots of little, smaller Roman administrative districts, so we can start handing out kingdom viceroyalties to keep our vassals more unified under single individuals. Now there's not really anything that can stop us from fully reunifying the Roman holdings in Gaul and then moving on to Germany and Britain. I really enjoy this mod, and I brush it off every year or so to come back and have another playthrough. The dynamic duchy system makes playing as any faction interesting, and while I only showed off the Roman restoration and Gaul mechanics, other cultures have unique mechanics. For example, Britons have their High King election events, where the various kings can fight over the High Kingship and then try and enforce it and vassalize each other. The Angles and Saxons can declare themselves Bretonwald, spreading their cultures across Britain and then pushing the Bretons back into Wales and Cornwall as they did historically. And if you want, you can even do a Roman restoration of Britain starting in Britain by starting as a Romano-Breton and restoring rule to the island before sailing over to the continent. If I had any complaints about the mod, it would be that the map doesn't fully expand to Italy, so I can't really restore Rome, and the late game tends to drag on a bit, as you can only expand duchy by duchy. A casus belli which allows us to conquer whole kingdoms would be a good addition, I think. For example, once you fully unite Gaul under Roman rule, that would be a good point to gain access to that casus belli to make conquest of Britain a little faster, at least I think. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like and subscribe. If you didn't, dislike and subscribe. Next week is a new Humble Choice, so look forward to my video on that. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.